Hi, I'm Tammy Beilstein. Welcome to Tammy's Window on Calaveras. I have with me today Peggy Morris, and she is a
Transplant recipient.
Transplant recipient. That was weird. I got totally tongue-tied. Now, I first met Peggy months and months ago over at the Angels Murphy's Rotary, which I belong to, and she was there as a guest speaker. Oh my gosh. As soon as you left, I think I kind of attacked you. I was like blocking your way so you couldn't leave so I could find out. I just wanted to find out who you were. Will you please come talk to me on the show? You are so interesting and your story is incredible. It's incredible. And the things you've done since then, oh my gosh. Okay, so these people have to get to know you. So, thank you for being here.
It's nice to be here.
Peggy, tell me from the beginning, I mean, how did this begin for you? You were just a regular person living a regular life?
That's absolutely true. One day, my son was living in Toronto, and he was coming to San Francisco to celebrate his 30th birthday. So we were driving down through the valley to San Francisco, and I started feeling kind of sick. So we got there, and I took a nap before we went to dinner. And the next morning, I had no energy. We'd walked to the farmer's market like we always did, and I just couldn't keep up.
Wow.
And I just thought, whoa, I got some allergy, because it was springtime. And so I went home, and I called my doctor, and she was on administrative leave. Call back in 2 weeks. And I just figured it's allergies. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
And I'm taking walks with my husband Ron and my girlfriends, and they're all going, "What's wrong with you? You can't keep up." And I'm just like, "Oh, I've got terrible allergies." And 2 weeks later,
were you like having a hard time breathing?
I just couldn't breathe. I could drive my car just fine, but I'd get out if I tried to walk up the stairs or take a walk with my friends like I always had done.
But no chest pains?
No pains of any sort.
Wow.
Just couldn't breathe. No energy at all.
Yeah.
So
you called your doctor. You had
called again, and she was still on administrative leave. And so finally by May, this was the beginning of April, so by May I went down to the urgent care clinic in Angels Camp. And the doctor I saw said, well, let's do a x-ray. And so I did an x-ray, and a couple days later they'd never called back, so I called to find out how it was, and she said, well, it looks like you have an enlarged heart. Well, I didn't know what that meant. It means I have a big heart.
Yeah, you're extra kind.
Yes, that's what I always thought. So she said, you should get an EKG. So I scheduled one, and it was like 3 weeks away. And in the meantime, I went to my dentist for my teeth cleaning. And the hygienist looks at me, and she goes, wow, did you run here? You're all out of breath. You're on time. You didn't have to hurry. And I said, no, I'm just having trouble breathing. And she said, you need to go to the hospital.
Wowee.
And that was the first time I'm like, wow, really?
Boy.
I'm so naive. So
but
I had no clue.
I would do like you. I would think allergies, asthma, a flu coming on.
I'd always had allergies as a kid growing up in the Bay Area. Springtime was always my tough time. That's what I figured it was.
Right.
And the funny thing is, she goes, do you want me to clean your teeth first? You got to go. And I'm like,
she was serious.
I'm like, well, yeah, I want clean teeth. Not knowing that people who have heart problems, it can be really dangerous to have your teeth cleaned if you're not on some kind of amoxicillin or something, because it can send like any kind of little germs or anything down into your heart and cause problems.
Oh my gosh.
So I had my teeth cleaned.
So no matter what, you were looking good.
And I was really close to Sonora Hospital. And Sonora Hospital is a fine hospital, but I had a broken leg foot there once that wasn't caught on their x-ray. So I thought, I don't want to go to Sonora. So I turned around in their parking lot and decided I'd go to Mark Twain. And we had just picked up a puppy 4 days before that. And the dog's home all by himself. So I thought, I've got to go home and make sure the dog's okay. So I'm on my way home, and there's my friend Richard walking his dog Copper. And I stopped my car, and I said, do you think you could keep an eye on Nico, because I have to go to the hospital? And he's like, well, oh, yeah, okay, fine. So I
You do have a big heart.
I did another U-turn, and I went down to emergency room, and I just walked in, I said, I can't breathe. And I got my EKG right then. I got all sorts of blood work done, and they're like, you've got congestive heart failure. Something's going on.
Gosh.
And I'm, woo!
I'm a huge fan of Mark Twain Hospital, by the way. I know people see it as just a small little place. What can they do?
Yeah.
They're amazing. I'm so glad you went there.
Me too.
Yeah. So they were on it.
Yeah, they were on it. But
Yeah.
there was only so much they could do. Well, my husband has heart conditions also and different sorts. And so he has a really good cardiologist in Palo Alto.
Okay.
So once he found out I was in the hospital, he called his cardiologist and said, I really want you to see Peggy. So I was in the hospital for 2 days, and they let me out. The one thing that was the scariest thing that I found out there was they did an echocardiogram on my heart, which is, I don't know what it's called, but it shows your ejection fraction, which is how much blood is pumped out of your heart. And, if 100% was pumped out, well, that'd be bad because there'd be no blood in there.
Oh, okay.
So for the average person, it's about 65% comes out into your lungs to refresh, your lungs every time it pumps.
What was yours?
Mine was at 15%.
15?
I had no idea.
How were you even functioning?
I really don't know.
Oh my
It was
gosh.
so bad and so scary. And so I went down to Palo Alto the very next week, and I stopped in Livermore on my way down because my girlfriend who lived there said, I don't want you to go by yourself, so I'm going to come with you. And Robin's daughter has cystic fibrosis and had a double lung transplant.
Why?
So unbeknownst to either of us, she was like the right person at the right time, because I went to see the doctor, and he's telling me all this stuff, and he's looking at the records, and he goes, we're going to put you on medicine, give you a monitor to wear for 48 hours, and send it back to us, and maybe in a few months we'll have to put in a pacemaker, and let's see what the medicines do to increase your ejection fraction. And he says, if these things don't work, you may need a heart transplant.
Were you just like, this is not happening?
No, this is exactly right. It's like, how is that possible?
Yeah.
So I remember when I walked out of his office, I've never felt so stunned and so scared.
Right.
And I looked at Robin, and I literally fell into her arms and sobbing, saying, I said I might need a heart transplant.
Right.
I was all worried.
God, I'm so glad she was with you.
She was the perfect person. She's like, don't worry about it. You're going to be fine. She'd been through all this. She knew what it took and what outcomes could be, and
That's
the scariness of the whole thing.
amazing.
And
God
she was
put
right
her
there. Right there.
For sure.
In the
If I was
perfect
with you, I
spot.
would have been like, oh my God, Peggy!
Anybody else would we'd all be, no.
Oh, I'm so happy she was with you.
So
Perfect.
right away, it was like a positive thing.
Yeah.
Something we knew, this is something we're going to get through together, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So I had the Holter monitor on for 48 hours and sent it back, and the doctor called me and says, I want you in next week. We're going to put a pacemaker in. It wasn't a few months, it was next week.
Wow.
Then I'm thinking, this is so bad. I don't know why this is happening to me, but it's all so bad. So I had a pacemaker put in, and
why didn't that work?
well, it kept me from my heart stopping, which was a problem.
But
apparently.
it didn't help with that.
It didn't. No,
the pumping
Also,
of your blood.
No, not the pumping at all.
Okay.
So the medicines helped. This was in July when I had that done, and by Christmas, my ejection fraction was up to 45. And I thought, oh, goody, in another 6 months, it'll be up to 65. I'll be all well, and I can go home and not, live the rest of my life.
But that sounds totally livable. If you were living at 15%, 45 is a huge jump.
Yeah. So I'm all happy about that.
Did it not last?
By July, after 1 year of being on this, it was back down to 15%.
Oh, no.
And so I guess it was actually in August when I had my appointment, and the doctor said, it's up to you, but you probably should think about getting a heart transplant.
Wow.
So I cried in the office, and then I said, okay, let's do it. And so right away, they put me on tests, and I went to Sequoia Hospital and to Mark Twain and to Stanford, testing every kind of possible test. I had...
Is it testing just to see what sort of heart would work best for you, or is it to find out where your whole body is right now?
Yeah, they want to make sure you are healthy, that there's no really weird things going on with you. They do tissue samples, they do genome typing. The main thing is tissue and blood for matching for transplant.
Okay.
Size of the person is important, and basically you want to be in pretty good shape, if that's possible. So the first time I went into Stanford, they took 21 vials of blood out of my arms. I counted because they had a stack of stuff. They did 17 out of this one, and then it collapsed, and then they did the rest out of here.
My God.
And I had ultrasounds done.
Heart must have been having an easy time with so little blood in there. It's probably thinking no work at all.
It's like, okay, yeah, take another one.
Right. That's crazy.
So it was. That was like 2 weeks of testing, and then this was at Stanford. All the doctors get together once a week, and they talk about the patients that have come in who, looking at the results, seeing who actually probably should be on transplant list. And they called me. It was a Friday, and they called me that afternoon and said, "You're going to get a letter in the mail pretty soon. You've been accepted for transplant."
Wow.
So that was a Friday.
How'd that happen so quickly for you? Does it go by? Is it just like they just pick a name? Out of the people who are a good fit for this heart, or how? Alphabetical order?
It's,
do it?
The only thing, all your information goes to a data bank through the United Network Organ Sharing. It's a United States thing. And it's done by districts. They have different districts because you cannot be really far away from that hospital.
Sure.
So it has to be in that district.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. Heart transplants and lung transplants, you need to be within 4 to 6 hours. That's how long those organs last before they start deteriorating. Whereas like a kidney, you could be 24 to 36 hours.
Okay.
With a lot more leeway. So you need to be close enough. And, we're like 2.5, 3 hours from Stanford in Murphy's. So I got on the list and met with the head of the whole department. He said, this is going to take, usually it takes 6 months to 2 years, but you're a little person, so get packed because it could happen soon.
Gosh.
And it was exactly 8 weeks.
8 weeks. Crazy.
And Ron was fixing scallops, and we had wine on the table. We're already had this really nice dinner, and the phone rings, and it says on my phone, Stanford Hospital. And I'm like, this is Peggy. And she goes, are you ready for your new heart? This was a Saturday night.
Oh, my gosh.
And I'm like, of course I am.
Yeah, you're like, pack up that yummy dinner. We're going.
She said, don't eat anything.
Don't eat, I'm sure. Yeah. I'm sure don't eat.
So Ron got really nervous. He's such a sweetheart. He's so scared. So he was calling some of our friends while I took a shower. She said we had 5 hours to get there. The body was at Stanford, so the organs were still in the body. So I had a little more time.
Do you know who your heart belongs to?
I do not. I did not find out. I'd like to know.
You do?
Yes. You have an option in the state of California. You work with a... No, I don't know what to say. The person who helps you, you have to write a letter. And you can't say what sex you are, how old you are, where you live. You just write this thank you letter for this wonderful gift.
Aww.
And please, if you feel like it, we'd love to hear from you. I'd love to know who my donor was. And I did that.
You haven't heard back from them?
Never heard back. So I've written 3 letters, and I have not heard. But I have met people have people in their families who were donors, and they said they never respond to the letters, but they love getting them. And that's what I'm thinking. And I'm also thinking, because I am small, it could have been a child. Could have been someone very young, and how hard that would be. How wonderful and giving and compassionate for a family to say okay to that, to giving parts of their child. That's what I'm thinking. I don't know. So I would like to. I really wanted to know at the beginning. It's not so important now, because I just know someone, obviously from a family who loved them so much and had this passion and compassion to give.
What a nice thing to do.
Yeah.
I'm glad you do send those letters, though. Oh God, I can imagine
I think
what it
everyone
means to
should.
them.
Yeah.
So you had just a few hours to get there.
So our friend Richard drove us.
Okay.
The fellow who I'd seen. Yeah, because
so
Ron was in the car too. He was so nervous.
And
Richard drove us. We get down there, and I was calling everybody on my cell phone. I called Dr. Smart. I know he's been on the program a few times. Because he said, you won't call. Nobody ever does. I was like, so he was like the first person I call him in the car on my phone. Dr. Smart, going in for my new heart. And when you go in for an organ transplant, you don't really know if that organ's going to suit you. They have to look at it, make sure it looks like it's good shape. For a heart, had to be sure the valves looked really good. There weren't any that were.
Does that mean you could have gotten all the way there and it still might not have happened?
Absolutely.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. That happens a lot.
Even though I know how this turned out, I feel anxious. Keep going.
So we got there, and my son was there with his wife from San Francisco, and Robin was there, and it was just so wonderful having all these people there. And the anesthesiologist came out to introduce himself to everyone, and he turned out to be an old high school friend of my son's.
What, of your son's?
Like, yes. Kevin,
he was a baby.
Like, oh my gosh, take care of my mom,
That's
and
crazy.
so I had a 3.5-hour operation, and I had
3.5 hours.
I had no transfusions.
Wait, the whole transplant was 3.5 hours.
Yeah, that was it. Which is not that. That's about as quickly
that is
as
so fast.
Yeah, and the doctors were really pleased, and so I was off to a good start.
Oh my gosh, I imagine this being like a half a day
it can be.
thing.
It can be a huge thing, sure.
That is
so
fast.
I feel like I got off really easy somehow. But I stayed in the hospital for 10 days, and I was out the day before Thanksgiving.
10 days. Gosh.
Yeah. And now I'm out.
That's
out and about.
The whole thing is so incredible.
Yeah.
It's like the kind of thing. I remember my parents watching, or my dad watching Star Trek when I was little. That's what this makes me think of. That is just so incredible. It doesn't seem real.
Mm-hmm. It is.
So fast. Did they ever say how they think this started with you? Why it was so quick?
They say idiopathic. It means they don't know.
Okay.
Could have been a virus.
Wow.
Could have been one time when I used some Roundup or something and breathed it in. Who knows? We don't know.
Do they think it's not hereditary, though?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. And my arteries were beautiful.
Yeah.
Are beautiful. There wasn't no problem with my arteries. It was just the whole heart.
Yeah.
And my heart ended up being about almost double the size it should be. It was.
Oh my gosh.
My heart, average human adult heart, at least for people my size, is supposed to be 265 grams, and it was 460 something.
Boy.
63. So quite a bit bigger.
Oh my gosh.
And so I got this beautiful little heart. And then Robin and her daughter were doing the transplant games, which is once every 2 years, somewhere in the United States. They change every single state, so all 50 states will get it before they go back. They have games with athletes.
Like an Olympics.
Like an Olympics.
Yeah.
Cool swimming and lots of track and field and stuff like that. And so Robin was always going with Anna, with her daughter, who'd had the double lung transplant. And she called me from Houston one year, that first year. And she said, Peggy, you've got to come. In 2 years, you've got to come. It's so much fun.
Wait, how old is her daughter and how old are you?
Oh, yeah. She's in her 30s. Yeah,
and you guys were competing
69.
in the same games?
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, so it gets everyone, donors and recipients all can come.
Oh, neat.
And so you get to meet other people like you, get to hear their stories, get to meet the people whose families have donated, who are there to support you, and then you get to play games. And so I played bocce because I'm one of the bocce buddies in Murphy's, and I was terrible, but
I doubt it.
I went and I didn't have a roommate, so there was one other person from the Northern California team who didn't have a roommate. Her name is Patty, and she was my roommate, and we got along so well.
Oh, perfect.
And she had a liver transplant. She got it one day before the cutoff time of when you could have an organ and still be in these games.
Okay.
She was like the newest person to get an organ.
Right.
They're competing, and she had gone to get a liver, I think it was 5 times she was turned back.
Oh, my God.
All the way from Hollister to Stanford, and had to go back because it didn't work.
Oh,
and then
that'd
she
be
finally got
crushing.
hers. Yeah, I would pretty much be.
Wow.
And she was really sick from that. But so we got to compete. We swam together. We were in the 60 to 68 age group, so at least I didn't have to compete with
you. As a 30-year-old.
Yeah. And so I got 2 silver medals and a gold medal
Very good.
in swimming. And then...
Were you a swimmer before?
I just do lap swimming. I've never done masters. Yeah.
Yeah, nothing competitive?
At the pool. Never.
No.
No, I had to take lessons to learn my strokes and to dive in, and I was too afraid to dive off the board, so I had to dive off the edge.
Oh, cute.
I didn't want to get up on the board.
Aww.
But the fourth thing was a 200 medley relay where they needed somebody to do the backstroke. And all these women were in their early 40s and late 30s, the three other ones, and they asked me if I would do the backstroke.
Wow.
And I'm like 68 years old.
Right.
Sure, because I didn't want, if I didn't, they couldn't do it, you know.
Aww.
So I get to be the first one out, and I got back before any other people did by like a split second. So
oh my gosh.
I didn't hold them back, and we got the gold for that one, and that was
That's
the most
awesome.
fun because there I was standing on number one with these three other girls who were all trying to fit up there on the little tiny podium.
That is so awesome.
It was very cool.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Okay, I have so many questions. Still, I'm thinking whoever's heart you got, still a big heart. That you are just so kind. And even though you're telling your story about the woman you met and the people you competed with, and what a kind person.
Thanks.
So having someone else's heart, do you feel any different? I've heard of people when they get some sort of transplant or something like that, even the transfusions or anything something big time, they might start to feel differently or crave things they didn't crave before.
I think that's mostly urban legend.
Really?
Yeah. Although, when I first woke up from my surgery, I just had a feeling of a young boy on a bicycle, and I can't explain that. Oh. And I have no clue.
Yeah.
But I did have a feeling, and then it went away, so it could have
Okay.
been, I wonder what it was,
Yeah.
So, no, I haven't liked beer more or anything,
Yeah, I was curious about
Changed my
that.
favorite color.
Right. I remember when you came and talked with us at the Angels Murphy's Rotary, that was one of the things I was wondering about. But so many people had questions for you, I didn't even get to ask you, so I'm glad I at least got to ask that. I'm being told to ask you here by my friends. So, do you have any limitations now that you have this transplant? And are you on a lot of medications and that sort of thing?
I'm on quite a few medications. Yeah, that's a lifetime thing.
Okay.
I'm very lucky that I'm not on prednisone because a lot of transplant people are on prednisone for life, but I luckily don't have to do that
That
one.
stuff is awful.
It's just a kill.
I was just telling her before we started, I feel so puffy because of these asthma medicines I'm taking. This stuff it works, but I'm glad
and as
for
far
you.
as limitations go, all the nerves were taken off my heart.
Okay.
So my heart does not know when I'm speeding up.
Really?
So if there was a fire in here, I went to run, I'd probably get about 30 feet and pass out. So I have to work up to exercise. And that's why swimming was really hard for me because I had to be in the pool before I competed just to warm up, like 15 minutes before I could even do my stupid.
Man, I wouldn't even be able to do that. I would be
Yeah.
so wiped out and out of breath if I tried to do what you did with your new heart. Huh?
But
you
that's
have to
about
build up
it.
to
So I just have to
Okay.
warm up. Yeah, this warming up and cooling down is the big thing. And I'm, it might be because I'm almost 70, but I'm a lot tireder now than I used to be. But I don't know if it's because of my heart or just because I'm getting so
older.
old.
That happens with all of us.
Yeah.
Do altitudes bother you? Do you have to stay here or lower?
They do. I do less on high altitude. Going to Lake Alpine, I noticed, like taking a walk. I haven't done any hiking up there yet. We just walk around the lake. I do notice that I'm a little bit more out of breath.
Yeah.
And going up and down the stairs at home still makes me crazy because I'll do 4 or 5 steps and all of a sudden realize, okay, just make it up the steps.
Sure. My mom she has a lot of different heart issues. When she was 42, she had double bypass, and she's had heart issues forever. But she cannot come up here. She goes in Valley Springs. She comes there, but anything more than that,
I've been up to Tahoe. That's been fine.
That's
it takes me
incredible.
a day to acclimatize, but I think that always did pretty much anyway.
That's so incredible.
So, yeah.
Are you able to not redonate the heart, but when you die, are you going to be donating your body parts? But the heart, is that just a one-shot thing, I'm sure?
Probably a one-shot thing. Yeah, I don't know for sure. But, I mean, anybody at any age, I think the oldest person, the last I heard, was a man from Scotland who was 95 years old who donated his corneas.
Really?
So at any age, there are parts of you that people can use, your skin, your tissue, bones. had a T-shirt I got at the games that said, it was from this little boy named Christopher, and I forgot what it said on the top. Keep on, something about keeping on going, no matter what. And when he died, he saved the lives of 8 people and helped like 54 people total.
Oh my
The parents
goodness.
said, take whatever you can. And as a little girl, 6-year-old girl had cancer in her bones, got a new humerus, whatever this one is.
Oh my goodness.
So you can. I mean, that can be done and there's no religions, main religion that says, no, this is not something you should do. Most religions consider it a very compassionate thing. And then when you go to heaven or wherever you think you're going, that particular deity doesn't need every little molecule of you. It's not your body that he's interested in.
It's not your body that's going, for sure.
So give it up.
For sure. Is the little sticker that we put on our licenses enough to do this?
It is.
Okay.
You can be 13 years old or up in the state of California to sign up to be a donor.
Okay.
But if you are 18 or under, you should let your parents know, because parents still have the option to say no. And it wouldn't be quite as big a shock if they knew that's what you really wished.
Right.
Even though if they get that, something had happened and the doctor says, well, they want it, they've signed up to be a donor.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if there's some way online. What if you die and they don't look at your license to know that you wanted to be a donor? Is there a way to set that up where do all hospitals have that ability to go and look you up and see that you
should.
want this
Donate
to
Life. The United Network for Organ Sharing started a program, I think, in 1992, Donate Life America.
Okay.
And so Donate Life California is the local one for the different counties. And the one for Calaveras County is actually Sierra Life out of Sacramento.
Oh, all right.
But Donate Life is huge, and people can donate through that. I think it's donatelife.net. You can sign up to be an organ donor through that.
Okay.
I did find out here that in Spain, everyone who lives in Spain, who was born in Spain, is considered an organ donor unless you opt out.
Wow.
And I would really like to see that happen here.
That is a great idea.
It makes so much sense.
That does make sense.
Yeah.
Are you working on that?
I haven't, but I suppose
It's a great
should let my congressman know. I could start a bill.
You could. Peggy's bill. Oh my gosh, how do we have just 1 minute left?
Oh my gosh.
Is so fast. I am so happy to know you.
Oh, thank you.
I could cry. You are so inspiring. You're such a beautiful person.
Hope people who look at this do sign up. I know Calaveras County was kind of low in the amount of people per county that are registered, so we need to up that game.
Oh my gosh, I know that if anyone's going to do it, it's you.
22 people a day are dying in need of organ transplants.
Wow.
And we need to change that.
We do. Thank you so much for being here, for telling your story. I appreciate you so much. And
Thank
like I said, I'm thrilled to know you. I love your heart, both of them, each one. I just think you're great. Thank you.
It's nice to be here.
Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time on Tammy's Window on Calaveras.